Assalamu alaikum. I am Ali.
And I am Sara.
Welcome back to English Real Practice. Today, we have a really great deep dive to help you improve your English speaking journey. And, well, honestly, your life journey too.
Yes, absolutely. We have a fascinating topic today.
I want you to think about that physical space in your home where your abandoned projects just kind of go to die.
Oh, we all definitely have one of those.
Right. Maybe it is a bottom drawer filled with unwritten journals or, a dusty guitar in the corner of your bedroom.
Or a digital folder packed with language learning apps you haven't clicked on since January 15th.
Exactly. We all have these graveyards. We have this incredibly vivid picture of the person we want to become. Yet there is this massive, frustrating gap between the intention we set and what we actually do on a random Tuesday.
It is arguably the most common psychological trap we face as humans. We are exceptional at visualizing the finish line, but we are notoriously terrible at calculating the mechanics to actually get there.
And when we realize we are stuck, we usually complicate things, don't we?
Oh, completely. We buy a 400-page productivity manual, or we download complex software.
Right. Or we listen to seminars filled with all this aggressive jargon about synergistic habit stacking and optimized paradigm shifts.
Which just makes it worse. We assume that because failing a goal feels like a huge problem, the solution must also be massive and complex.
But our source material for this deep dive completely subverts that assumption. We are looking at something really unusual today.
We certainly are. Our source today isn't a peer-reviewed psychology paper or a best-selling self-help book.
No, it is actually a transcript of an everyday English conversation. To be specific, it's a dialogue originally designed for language learners.
Yeah, a really practical, stripped-down lesson teaching people how to talk about their goals in English.
And when I first opened this transcript, I was looking at it purely as a linguistic exercise.
Sure, just looking at the vocabulary.
Exactly. But as I read through it, I realized that the constraints of the format, the fact that the authors had to explain goal setting using only the most fundamental, easy-to-understand words, actually created something brilliant.
It forces absolute clarity. Sometimes the most profound advice is found in the simplest language.
It really is. By stripping away all that confusing pseudoscientific fluff, this simple language lesson is basically a masterclass on human motivation. It's like a really good user manual for life.
And our mission today is to unpack these fundamental strategies from the text. We're going to look at everything from defining your goals to the psychology of staying motivated, all using this clear, emotionally resonant framework.
So let's start right at the foundation. Before anyone can build a house, they need to know how to lay a single brick, right?
Right. And the source identifies these single bricks as short-term goals.
Most productivity stuff rushes past the small things to get to the grand vision, but this text anchors us immediately in the present moment.
Yes. The definition it provides is relentlessly practical. It describes short-term goals as things you want to do in a short time, like this week or this month.
So we are not dealing with theoretical futures here.
Exactly. We're dealing with immediate reality. And the text emphasizes a huge psychological benefit to this. Achieving small things quickly builds your confidence.
It gives you that immediate proof that you can actually change your own behavior. And the specific examples they give from the source are refreshingly ordinary.
Like buying a new 300-page book.
Yeah, and the instinct for most of us is to say, I am going to read this entire book this weekend.
Which never happens.
Never. But the source frames the short-term goal as committing to just 50 pages every night before sleep.
Or take exercise. The goal isn't framed as, I am going to completely transform my body.
Right? It's simply running in a nearby park for 30 minutes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
The examples are deliberately chosen to be manageable. They also highlight financial goals, like saving just $50 this month.
And lifestyle adjustments, too, like cooking dinner at home 4 times a week instead of ordering out.
Which the text notes is highly efficient because you save money and you're healthier at the same time.
Okay, I need to push back on this concept for just a second, though.
Okay, go for it.
Because when I look at a goal like saving just $50 this month, my skeptical brain immediately does the math.
Sure.
If my big life goal is to buy a house, saving $50 feels mathematically irrelevant. Is saving $50 or reading 50 pages actually enough to matter, or is it just a trick we play on our brains?
That is a highly rational objection. I get that. But it misunderstands the whole philosophy the source is outlining.
How so?
Well, you are looking at the $50 as just a financial transaction. The text treats the $50 as an identity shift.
An identity shift.
Yeah, $50 will not buy a house, obviously, But it's not about the size of the achievement. By focusing on one specific, achievable thing, you prove to yourself that you can make a promise and keep it.
So the prize isn't the $50.
Exactly. The prize is the habit. It is becoming the type of person who successfully manages their money.
That distinction makes so much sense. The smallness of the goal is actually its biggest strength because it is a low-stakes testing ground.
Right. You build the muscle without the risk of total failure. And this brings us to the vocabulary used in the text, which is super interesting.
Yeah, I noticed how the source uses very specific, action-oriented phrases to frame these short-term goals.
It really relies on active verbs. It uses phrases like plan to, try to, achieve, and focus on.
You don't just say, I want to save money. You say, I plan to save.
Right. And you don't say, I wish I ran more. You say, I focus on my run. It translates a vague wish into a concrete contract with yourself.
Which is the perfect way to handle our bigger dreams. Because what happens when you stack all those short-term bricks together?
You build a much larger structure.
Exactly. And that naturally moves us to the big dreams, what the source calls long-term goals.
The text outlines long-term goals as objectives for the next year or maybe 5 years down the line. They require sustained time and effort.
If the short-term goals are the immediate steps, the long-term goals are the compass. They give you direction.
And the examples the text uses for these long-term aspirations carry a lot of emotional weight.
Yes, like improving English speaking skills. The goal isn't just to pass some boring exam.
No, the stated goal in the text is to become fluent, confident, and able to have long conversations without nervously searching for words.
That is such a relatable dream for language learners. The goal is framed around the emotional payoff of connection.
The source uses another really vivid example too, the dream of traveling to Japan.
Right, and the motivation there isn't just taking photos. The text explicitly mentions being motivated by the culture, the food, and the history.
They also cover career advancements, like getting a promotion, finding a new job, or learning a big new skill like playing the guitar.
And major life purchases, like buying a car or a house. But the crucial connection here, the really critical insight from the source, is that long-term and short-term goals are deeply connected.
They absolutely are. The source refuses to treat them as separate things.
Like with the Japan trip, right? Traveling to Japan is an expensive, massive dream.
And because it is massive, it explicitly requires the short-term goal of saving money every month and learning basic Japanese phrases this week.
You cannot have the big dream without the short-term discipline.
And again, the English vocabulary shifts to reflect this. For these larger goals, the source attaches aspirational phrases.
We move from plan to phrases like hope to, dream of, and work towards.
But the most important phrase the text leans on for this section is doing things step by step.
Step by step. Yeah, that is huge. Because having a big dream is great, but setting a goal is the easy part. Achieving it is where things get really messy.
Oh, completely. Stating a 5-year goal is easy. Executing it over 1,000 days is hard.
So how do we keep a 5-year goal from feeling completely impossible? How do we overcome the overwhelm?
The source is remarkably practical about this. It introduces the primary strategy of breaking it down.
Breaking it down, I like to think of a massive goal as a heavy boulder. You cannot lift it all at once, right? It would crush you.
Right, it's impossible.
But if you break that boulder down into a pile of small pebbles, you can move the whole mountain over time, pebble by pebble.
That is a perfect analogy. And the text shows exactly how to do this. If the massive goal is fluency in English, you have to extract the small steps.
Like what?
Like learning just 10 new vocabulary words a week.
Oh.
Or practicing speaking with a friend for 30 minutes on a Saturday.
Or watching just one movie without subtitles this month.
Yes, those are tasks anyone can do. They're not intimidating at all.
But even with small steps, you still have to actually do them. How does the text suggest we stay motivated to keep moving those pebbles?
The source details 2 really specific, actionable motivation tactics. The first one is accountability.
Oh, right. Telling a friend about a goal.
Exactly. When a goal only exists in your head, quitting is easy because no one knows.
But if you tell a friend you are running 3 times a week, that changes everything.
It really does. Because on Wednesday, your friend might ask, hey, did you go for your run?
And you do not want to say no. It weaponizes our social bonds to keep us on track. What is the second tactic?
The second is visual tracking, putting a big check mark on a calendar on run days.
Or like the text says, coloring in a box on a chart every time you save $10 for the Japan trip.
Exactly.
I found this part so interesting. On the surface, coloring in a box seems like something a kid does. Why does a visual tracker work so well for adults?
Because of the invisibility of progress. When you save $10, you don't look any richer the next day. The result is invisible.
So the check mark gives you immediate physical proof of your effort.
Yes. You build a visual chain of success, and psychologically, you do not want to break that chain.
But that brings up a very human problem that the text mentions. What happens when you do fail?
Because we are human, and life is unpredictable.
Right. What if it rains on Monday and you miss your run? The chain is broken. The instinct is to just give up completely.
And that all or nothing thinking ruins so many goals. But the source has this wonderfully comforting, resilient advice for this exact moment.
It says one bad day doesn't ruin the whole goal.
Exactly. You don't give up completely. You simply start again the next day.
You forgive yourself and move on.
Yes. And the text says to remember why you started. You picture that amazing feeling of finally reaching the finish line.
You imagine walking through Tokyo or speaking English perfectly and use that feeling to get back on track.
And linguistically, this section unpacks some great phrases. We learn how to break it down, stay motivated, track my progress, give up, and reach my goal.
Okay, so understanding all these mechanics is great, but it is only half the battle. How can you, listening right now, actually apply these exact steps today?
The source material is brilliant here because it concludes with practice exercises. It outlines a 3-step method for active learning.
The first step is listening.
Yes. Paying active attention to the language and finding 3 to 5 specific phrases in everyday conversation.
You are observing the environment and finding the patterns. What is step 2?
Step 2 is speaking, saying 3 short sentences out loud about a goal.
Like the example in the text. My goal is to save money. It is a long-term goal. I will try to save $10 this week.
Exactly. Saying it out loud makes it real. And the final step, step 3, is writing.
Committing the goal to paper.
Yes, writing a short paragraph starting with my biggest goal right now is, and identifying one small step to take.
You know what I noticed about those sentences? They are so simple and short.
Very blunt, yeah.
I think there is a real power in that. Sometimes we use complicated words to give ourselves an excuse to fail.
Oh, that is so true.
But clear, simple, and confident communication is often the most powerful way to solidify an intention in your own mind.
Complexity is often just a disguise for procrastination. When you speak simply, there is nowhere to hide.
So, if we synthesize all the core takeaways from our deep dive today, what does it look like?
It comes down to short, powerful sentences. Set your big dream. Break it down into small steps. Track your progress visually.
When you miss a day, forgive yourself and start again.
Exactly. And never give up.
Because the feeling described in the source, when all that hard work finally pays off and you reach your goal, is just incredible.
It truly is. Which leaves us with a final thought for you to ponder today.
What is that?
Well, if every massive life achievement is just a series of tiny, ordinary steps, what is this single invisible pebble you can move today that will eventually move your mountain?
Wow. What is your invisible pebble? That is such a great question to leave on.
The real achievement might just be who you become along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, if you found value in breaking down these ideas with us today, make sure to subscribe to the channel.
Yes, please do.
Like and share this video with someone who might need a little motivation. And importantly, tell us your opinion in the comments.
We really want to know.
What is one small step you are going to take today towards your goal? We read them all and we want to hear from you. Thank you for joining us on English Real Practice. Start moving those pebbles and we will see you next time.